On North London and the Emirates Stadium this weekend as the students and the master go head-to-head. In your company, wonderful to be in the company of Julien Laurens and Leanne Sanderson tonight. Guys, it's all set up for a very big weekend. Just looking at that one, Arsenal versus Manchester City. It's hard to believe that the first round, which gave us so much, was September. It feels like a lifetime ago.
It does, and I think, and obviously City went on that somewhat decline, and I think what people have to remember, they're still sitting in fourth and they're 6 points off of Arsenal. Yeah. Like, I think we're all getting carried away that they're having this awful season, but they're still in a good spot. When I look at the Premier League table, I think, how is that the case? But I think it'll be a completely different game at the weekend. I think we see two teams, obviously Mikel Arteta, Pep Guardiola are good friends. Often at times people have spoken a lot about Mikel Arteta, learning a lot from Pep, but I think one thing I think that separates the two is the mentality. Like Pep Guardiola previously has known how to get things done and across the line, and Arsenal, when it really matters, seem to kind of capitulate at the wrong time when the pressure is on. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think it'll be completely different. Obviously no Rodri during that game in September. He was there for the ACL during that game. So, but Manchester City is still kind of creeping, coming off the back of that win last weekend against Chelsea. That was a good win for them, because Chelsea have been in good form.
That was a big game. You just reminded me that was the game where Rodri got injured. It was the Be Humble game. So much happened. Let's remind ourselves, in fact, and you can...
At the game at the Etihad, and he started so well, the Savinho assist and the Haaland finish, and then you think, okay, Arsenal aware, City going a goal down, it's going to be difficult for them. Then Rodri gets that injury on his own, his ACL. And I don't know if that changed much in terms of the dynamic of the game. Of course, it's better with Rodri, but he hadn't played earlier this season because he was still recovering from the Euros with Spain in the summer. And then Arsenal came back, and Calafiori with his first goal of the season, then another set piece again, again for Arsenal with Gabriel. And then the big turning point is the Trossard second yellow that we see here. The first one was a bit stupid already. This one even more for kicking the ball away.
It was that period at the start of the season where they had a couple of those red cards for kicking the ball away. We won't say anything about who's showing the red card, but just the end of it then, and there is the equalizer. And then the aftermath was so heated. These two sides have obviously gone toe-to-toe for the title the last 2 years.
Yeah, and I think when, emotions are running high at the end of the game, Haaland there obviously telling Mikel Arteta to be humble. It's a little bit, not disrespectful, but that is a coach of another team. I don't think that's necessary in those moments. But again, highly competitive moments. And I think in previous years, when it's come down to it, Manchester City seem to kind of know how to get the job done. But I think there's that rivalry there that we talk about over the years with other teams. We spoke about it earlier previously. Manchester United, Arsenal over the years had that rivalry. This one has that little bit of extra added spice. But I think you look at the table right now, City are in fourth. Everybody expected them to kind of be doing what Liverpool are doing.
Yeah, that Be Humble didn't age well at all, right? It gave us so many good memes for the rest of the season. City on a better track now. So let's hear from both managers ahead of this one. City boss Pep Guardiola was asked today about the impact of Rodri's ACL injury in that draw with Arsenal in September.
Listen, for Rodri is massive, but I repeat the same way I've done many times. I have not been just Rodri. But of course, the best player in the world in absence. Tell me one team will not notice. Of course we notice. I would prefer to lose that game and rather have it all season. Absolutely.
The words said after the game by Mikel. I just wonder, have you had a chance to speak to him since, and how is your relationship with him now?
Exceptional. With him and his family. Exceptional.
Arteta really didn't want to talk about that rivalry. I mean, we play it up in the media, of course, and it is a fact. He's been in Pep's shadow a little bit because he said in the intro, the master versus the student.
Which is true, and he's still a young coach, to be fair. Even if he's been at Arsenal for 5 years now, he's still a much younger coach than Guardiola after this 20-year stellar career, really. I think there's a lot of respect between them two. There's a lot of similarities, like Leanne was saying, of course. I think he learned a lot from Pep, and now he's trying to be a little bit different, and he doesn't play really like Pep plays either. But he's got a great record against him. If you think about the last 4 Premier League matches, Arsenal are unbeaten against City. Home and away, they seem to have right now a bit of the edge over City, and him the edge over Pep. So it'd be very interesting to see. They're usually very tight games, that's the thing, and I think he was right maybe not to go into the very emotional side, rivalry, me against Pep, Haaland against Gabriel, all those kind of matchups which are real, but maybe pre-match, you don't go there too much.
Yeah, Leon, just talk to us about what's happening behind the scenes, though, and the players, what kind of attitude they'll have coming into this, remembering what happened in September, all the talk about the rivalry and this kind of animosity that they've built up, which we saw highlighted at the end of that game in September.
I think from a player's perspective, these are the games you really look forward to when the fixtures come out, because they're the biggest games and the biggest players want to be playing in them. And I think it's interesting because something that Julian just said reminded me that, remember a couple of years ago, Man City were playing without a number 9. They put Phil Foden in there, and I think similarly Mikel Arteta was trying to do that. He's been trying to do that also with Kai Havertz, and it hasn't quite worked because the standard of players that there has been at Manchester City was on a different level. Their second string team will probably be pushing for a title, and that's about recruitment and not leaving things till the last minute. And we'll come on to that a little bit later, but I think from a player's perspective, I'll be looking forward to this game. And you do think about those things. You know, everyone else is talking about it. We're all like crease of habit. We all go on our phones, so they'll be looking at these things. It's not like they put their phones away and they don't look at what everyone's talking about. And I'm sure Mikel Arteta will be using, to a certain degree, I don't know this for a fact, Haaland saying be humble in one of his chats. You know, Mikel Arteta is quite animated in his pre-game chats, and I think they can use that as ammunition, because I would be, because I'd want to win that game for me, but I'd certainly want to win it for my manager when a player from the other team. Be interesting to see how the result goes if Arsenal do win the game, because at the end of the game they'll probably still have a few little conversations, but I'm okay with that. It's a highly competitive sport. You know, we're all competitors. And I think back in the day, this was pretty normal when Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira were going at each other and those types of things. So I kind of welcome that type of thing.
Yeah, interesting that Haaland at the end of the game was involved in that little scuffle. The be humble, has now lived on for the rest of the season, but also in game, and his battle with Gabriel was fascinating to watch.
Yeah, that's true. And what I thought was even more interesting is that in previous games where Haaland didn't score for a long time against Arsenal, it was against William Saliba, who was clearly had the best of him in those games. And for that game especially, Haaland clearly was targeting Gabriel more than Saliba, and be on the Gabriel side of things. Okay, we see it there on the goal. That's not really a duel between him and Gabriel. It's just him exploiting the space really well. But through the whole game, more like this, it was him on Gabriel. He was kind of like, I don't want Saliba on my back anymore. I want Gabriel. I'm going to target Gabriel. Maybe Gabriel is not as strong defensively as Saliba. So you would expect the same to happen again on Sunday and see how Gabriel responds. It's just keeping your emotions low. Arsenal can't get another red card. It's hurt them too much this season. Same for City. You can't go to the Emirates and lose a player halfway through the game, for example. So this was a bit naughty from Haaland, of course, if you all remember. Very naughty a bit and a bit childish even, but it's in a way part of the kind of mind games that you can have sometimes at that level between players.
I think Gabriel did really well there to not retaliate, because if that was me in that situation, I've only ever had one red card in my whole career for 2 yellows, but I find that quite difficult to kind of respond to that, because he stayed quite calm in those situations.
I wonder how heated it's going to be, because we've just had a look at that, and you said if you're Mikel Arteta, you'll be reminding them of all that. The uproar, I think, afterwards was not only the be humble, but it was also him doing that to Gabriel with the ball, and he got away with it at the end. Nothing happened to him.
Yeah, but I think you have to be careful. There's a line where you want your players pumped up, but not too much, because again, you need to start on the front foot and have a good start of the game. But if, again, you can't lose a player, you can't get 2 yellows in the first 10 minutes for 2 defenders, for example, for instance. So I think Arteta will have to be careful to get the players pumped up, and Pep will do the same, but not too much, so they keep their calm as well, and you don't